Hey there everyone, and welcome to the new course section. Now in this section, we will learn about how we can move the project which we have created in Prisma to the production. So till now we have done everything on the local host and all these things like creating the database locally and running the server locally. Now in this lecture, we will move everything to the production and we'll see how we can configure the Prisma, migrate the database tables, all these things in a production environment. So for this course, like I'll be using AWS as a cloud provider. So here is a diagram which depicts like what all services we are going to work with. So let me explain you. So here are a couple of users. So consider them as an end users. So they will request to the load balancer. So request will first go to the load balancer, and that load balancer will be connected to some EC2 instances. So if you're not aware about EC2 instances, consider them as a computer in a cloud, which will be running your Node.js application. So they are just a cloud, or maybe you can see it's like equivalent to some sort of VPS. So it's kind of a computer which sits on a cloud and runs your EC2 instance or the Node application, sorry. So once your control reaches to this EC2 instance, it will process your request. It will connect to the database, which will again run on MySQL. So we will be using RDS service of Amazon to spin the MySQL instance. And all these things will then return the response to the users. So this is the bare minimum architecture which we are going to create in this course. So I'm pretty excited for this course. You will also learn a lot, like how things are done in production, how to spin up a machine and deploy your project inside the AWS. So let's catch up inside the section. Now here is a quick disclaimer for this course section. So the services that we are going to use inside AWS do incur some cost. So please follow the steps along with me so that you can get the minimum cost possible. And if you are signing for the first time, you also get some free tier so that you can try out the things on your own. In the end of the course, I will also teach you how to dispose all the resources so that you don't incur any extra cost. And for other resources, like if you do anything on your own, you are the only one responsible for all the costs. So please be very careful in spending any resources, read the documentation, read the pricing plan before spending any resources apart from the things that are mentioned inside the course. And also, again, at the end of this course section, I will teach you how to dispose or delete all the resources so that they don't generate any extra cost. So here is the sign-in console for AWS. Now, if you have already created account, you can directly log in into the account. But for the first time users, you have to click on this create a new account. So there are some pretty basic stuff which you have to perform, and you have to give some basic details. So just register this as a root user email. Here you have to give your email ID and some account name. Maybe you can give your own name as well. And in the next steps, you will be asked what type of account do you need. So choose personal there, because you will be needing it for just for your personal usage, not for any business or anything else. So keep that in mind. I have already created my account, but if you are creating it for the first time, you also need some credit card or debit card. So please keep that in mind. You have to attach that credit card or debit card. Don't worry, it will not cost you anything. It will just charge 2 rupees or something else, very bare minimum amount to verify that card. But apart from that, if you are signing for the first time, there is generous free tier offered by AWS, so you don't need to worry about that part. But obviously, in case you are spinning up any services on your own, you have to check the documentation and pricing plans. Now here is my AWS account. So if you will log in, you will see this console page. So what I have done is, in my AWS account, I have first this Route 53 service. So if you don't see all these things here, you can click on search and type Route 53. I will give you bare minimum basic details of what each service do, because this is not obviously the course of AWS. So Route 53 is used for DNS management. So here you can see that I have one hosted zone. So here I have added one domain which I have bought recently to showcase all the things to you. So I have added this domain. So Route 53 is considered as a DNS management service of AWS. So this is what all you need. Apart from this, you can see that here is one more service which is known as Certificate Manager. So if you also don't see this, just type Certificate Manager. Now certificate manager is used to generate some SSL certificates for HTTPS. So here also I have one SSL certificate. So just click on this list certificates in the left hand section, and it says you don't have any certificate. So just switch the region, I guess. Okay, so the certificate is in the Frankfurt region. Regions are also important in AWS because we will be spinning our resources in one region. So in our case, I have this certificate in this Frankfurt region, but I need this in North Virginia region. The reason I am using this region is because it, first of all, it is very fast, and secondly, the pricing for this region is pretty low. So that's the reason I am using this region. So I will request another certificate here in this region as well. So just click on request certificate and request a public certificate, click next. And then you will have to add a fully qualified domain name. So just copy the domain name from here. You can give another name to the certificate. So I want to generate the certificate for this domain as well as subdomains for less. So this is the subdomain. So wildcard dot the domain name. So app dot domain name, API dot domain name. So all these things will be covered with this wildcard. So we use the DNS validation as a validation method and leave everything as default and click on request. So once this is done, you can click on this certificate ID. And what we have to do is to perform the validations, we have to create the record in Route 53. Now, as soon as you create the record and go back to the Route 53 and refresh this, as of now, you can see that we have 3 records. Now, you can see that the CNAME record which it asked to create, which is _ed86. Okay, as of now, it's not created, I guess. Okay, sorry. The record value is _7907. So this is the same thing. If you click on this, you can see that _ed86 and _7907. So this will be used for validation of the DNS. So it will take some time for DNS validation, but sometimes it's pretty fast. Like you can see that it's already issued. So now we have a certificate in this region as well, the North Virginia region. So we will be using this certificate for all our tasks. So now everything is cleared. Like this is the basic setup that I have. Hosted zone and like the domain in Route 53 and a certificate, SSL certificate in ACM or the certificate manager. Now in the next lecture, we will see how we can spin the database. Now before creating the database, we have to create the security group. So for creating the security group, navigate to the EC2. Now for security group are used to define what all ports will be accessible for that instance. So you will like understand once I will create that. So in the left hand section, you can scroll and inside the network and security, you can see the security groups. So just click on it. And here is one default security group, which is provided by the AWS by default. So we need another one. So just click on create security group and create security group name. We will say e-commerce security group. You can give name whatever you like and give the description security group for e-commerce app and just leave the VPC as default. Now we have to create the inbound rules. Now inbound rules are the rules in which we define all the ports that can be accessed from the outside world. So just click on this. First we need SSH because we need to SSH into the EC2 instance to perform all the commands and all these things. So it can be from anywhere. Second, it will be HTTP. So we need HTTP access as well. So IPv4 anywhere. You can also restrict this to custom IP address. For example, you want only one person to SSH inside this EC2 instance, so you can give the IP address of that individual, but as of now we can give it anywhere. Apart from this, we need HTTPS as well, and it should also be from anywhere. Now we need the port for MySQL as well, so 3306, it should also be from anywhere. At last, our app will be running on, I guess, 3000 ports, so we just need the custom TCP, which will be of port 3000, and it will also be from anywhere. And for the outbound roles, we will leave it as it is. So these are all the ports which will open for the outside world to access our instance. So this is what our security group is. So just click on create security group. Now our security group is created. Now we can create a database. Now for the database, in the search, type RDS, which is Relational Database Service. Click on the RDS. Now once it's opened, we want to create the database instance. So as of now, you can see that we have 0 instance. So click on the database instances and click on create database. Now we want the standard create. We don't need the easy create, because easy create, a lot of things are done by the AWS in the background, but for our purpose, we need some extra control over it. The instance will be MySQL. Now you can choose the engine version, or you can leave it default. You can click the free tier. Now it is very important, just click the free tier here, else you will incur some extra cost. And just give the database identifier. We will say e-commerce. Username will be admin, and we will click on auto generate password, so it will generate the password automatically. Instance size will be T2 micro, because we need the bare minimum instance. For scaling purpose, we can switch the instance type anytime in the future. 20 GB is enough, so we will leave everything as by default. Connectivity will also leave it by default. Public access, we'll say no, because we don't want someone to access our database publicly. We just need our EC2 instance to connect to the database. So that's what it says. So if you want to read, you can read it here as well. Now for the security group, we will cancel this default, and we will select this e-commerce security group that we have created in the previous lecture. Leave it as it is. Everything is added as it is. In the additional configuration, database port is also good, 3306. We need the password authentication, so it is also good. In the additional configuration, we now need to give the database name. So first we will say e-commerce. So it is the initial database name. Retention period is 1. So it will create the backup of the database, so that if something happens to a database, it crashes. So we have the backup of the data. So it will retain every day. So 1 is the day on which it will retain the backup. And we don't need anything else. Just keep everything as by default and click on create database. You can say that here it says 750 hours of Amazon RDS is free. So you can avail this for free per month. Now it will take some time to create it. I will get back to you once it's created. So if you click, it's still creating. So once it's created, you will see the endpoint and all these things here. Now you can see that the database creation is successful, and we have this endpoint and the port here. And if you will go above this, you can also see this button, which is view connection details. So just click on it. So from here, we will copy all these things somewhere, and we will keep it safe. So username is admin. So go to the Notes app and just keep it safe somewhere. So username is admin. Password. So just copy the password as well. And URL. So we will need all these things during the connection of the database. So Now close it, and we have the database in place now. Now in the next lecture, we will spin a EC2 instance. Now to create the EC2 instance, go in the search bar and type EC2 and go to the EC2 service. EC2 stands for Elastic Compute Cloud. So it will give you a computer inside the cloud on which you can spin all your resources. So as of now, you will see that we have 0 running instances. Click on the instances, and we don't have any running instance. So click on this launch instance button. So we'll name it as e-commerce. And for the image, we will select Ubuntu. And you can see that for all these images, it's giving the free tier eligible or not. So just click on this one, 22.0.04, and it has free tier. So it will give you 750 hours monthly of free. And apart from this, we will need this T2 micro as well, which has this free tier. For the key pair, we need to create a key pair. So just give a key pair name, e-commerce, and it will leave everything as default and create the key pair. Now the key pair is downloaded. You have to keep this saved because we will use this key pair to authenticate inside the EC2 instance using SSH. And once everything is done, network settings, you click on select existing security group. And the security group will be e-commerce security group. Leave everything as default. Everything is fine, I guess. Just review. So we have this name, we have Ubuntu image 22.04. Yeah, everything is fine. Just click on launch instance. So it will take a couple of minutes to spin this instance. So it's in pending state. So when it's like it's succeeded, like the launch is succeeded, we will SSH into this EC2 instance and will install Node.js and all these things. So see you inside the next lecture. Now you can see that the EC2 instance is running. Now let's go to the terminal and try to connect to this EC2 instance. So you can see that I have this ecommerce.pem file on my desktop. So first, in order to connect with this, we have to change the permission of this ecommerce.pem. So we will say chmod 400 and path to this file. So just drag and drop here. So we have now changed it. Now in order to connect to the EC2 instance, we have to say SSH-i and the path of this key pair file. And then we will say the username of the EC2 instance. So username for all the Ubuntu related instances, Ubuntu only, Ubuntu @ and then the IP address of that EC2 instance. So if you scroll to the right, you can see that we have the public IPv4 address. So just copy this and paste it here. So we will say yes. Now you can see that the instance is connected. So you will see this here, Ubuntu @IP. So it means like you have SSH'd into the EC2 instance. Now let's install the node on this EC2 instance. So to install this node, like the AWS has given this beautiful documentation here as well. So just go on to this link and follow all the steps. So we have SSH into the EC2 instance. Copy this command, then it will install NVM. So NVM is the Node virtual version manager. So it's used to manage multiple versions of Node. So once NVM is installed, you will see this. So just copy all the steps, and through NVM we will install the particular versions of Node. And we will say NVM installed the latest version of Node. So it's installing the Node, and it's installing version 18.18.2. So it's installed, I guess. And now we will say Node-v. You can see that the node is installed, and if we say npm-v, so the npm is also installed. So this is how you install Node on EC2 instance. Now in the next lecture, we will pull the code from GitHub and we will try to install all the dependencies and connect to the database. Let's prepare this project for production. So in the project, go to the package.json file and we will add an extra script here. So the script will be build. Now build script will be used to build all our TypeScript code into the JavaScript. So we will say npx tsc. So we will use TypeScript compiler to build all the TypeScript. Now for that we need one more change. So go into the tsconfig.json, and here you can see this out dir. So it determines in which folder our compiled JavaScript will be stored. So change this. So first uncomment this and change this to build. So we will store all the JavaScript code inside the build folder. Now go to the terminal and run the command npm run build. Now it will take a little bit of time. So, and after that you can see that we will have a new folder here build, which will store all the JavaScript. So you can see that it's completed and it has all the JavaScript code. Now we will push this to GitHub, but before that we want to exclude this build folder from the version control. So we'll say build, and we will exclude all the JavaScript files as well. But I don't think so that's needed. So let's keep it as it is. So we'll use build because we will anyways generate this build folder again on like the server, the EC2 server. So that's why we are not pushing it through GitHub. So we'll say git add, git commit, and we'll say finished prod setup, and just say git push origin main. So it's completed. Now we will go to the EC2 instance and when clone the repository there. Now in this video we will clone the GitHub code on the EC2 instance. So here is the repository. You can find the link here. So github.com/namishverma17 Prisma resources. So just copy the SSH URL from here. Go to the EC2 instance. I have already SSH'd into the EC2 instance. So simply type git clone and the URL. So it was pretty fast. Just cd let's see if in which directory is it. So it's Prisma resources. So I will say cd Prisma resources, and you can see that we have all the source code here. Now in order to do this, first we have to create the environment file as well. So we will say vim. I will use the vim editor.env. Now let's open the VS Code and copy the template from there. Open the VS Code and copy the template from there. So the template is this. We have database URL, port, and JWT secret. So we will go into the insert mode by pressing I and we'll paste this. Now we have to replace a couple of things here. So JWT secret and port is fine, but we need to replace the database URL. So the username is admin in our case. We will copy the password from our Notes app. So here is the password. Now we will replace the local host with the URL of the database. So this is the URL. And port is 3306, which is fine. The database name is also e-commerce and everything is fine for me. But I think we have to change the username as well. So this will work. So we have this here. Sorry, I think I have made a mistake. Oh, my bad. So I have edited in this file. I have to edit this inside this. So my bad. So let's copy the password here from here again and go to the EC2 and we will replace the password. So this is the password, and we will replace localhost with the database URL. So the database URL, just copy it from here. Port is fine, e-commerce is also fine, schema is equal to public. Now I guess everything is fine. So we will say escape :WQ, which will write and quit. So everything is there. Now we will build this. So first you will say npm install. You will install all the dependencies. Now once this is done, we will build the code using npm run build. So you can see that it's installed. Now we will say npm run build. So I guess it should be pretty fast. Okay, so just list all the files. You can see that we have a build directory. So just go into the build directory and ls there. Okay. And you can see that, but we don't have any env file here. Okay, so first let's run this. So we will say node index.js. So it says app working. Okay, makes sense. So I'm not sure if this env file is not listed or what. So I guess it's not listed here. Now in the previous lecture, we have built the source code. Now here, we will try to run the migrations in the production. So the only difference is the command is different for running the migration in dev and production. So in dev, we were using npx prisma migrate dev, but for production, we will be using a different command, and that will be npx prisma migrate deploy. So this command is used in the production environment. Now you can see that it's applying all the migration to the production database. So the migration is completed. Now what we want to do is we want to install a separate package. So as of now, like, we can run the code using node index.js, but that's not ideal in the production. We will be using PM2, which is the node manager for running the node app in the production. So go to the Google and just type PM2 node. So you can see that here we have process manager for Node.js application. So it's the advanced production process manager for Node.js application. So let's copy this command and install this. So it's installed globally. And to run the Node.js application, we will be using PM2, and we will say build index.js. And you can see that it's saying command not found. Okay. I suppose PM2 I guess it's PM2 start. Yeah, now it's working. So it's not just PM2 index.js, it's PM2 start build index.js. Now you can see that it's online, and if you go to PM2 logs, you can see that it's saying app is working. Now just for test purpose, I'm not sure if it will work or not without HTTPS. Go to this IP address and go on port 3000. You can see that cannot get. If I access any random route, you can see that it says cannot get /me. All our APIs are deployed on /API prefix. Okay, it's still saying cannot get me. I'm not sure what's the route for me. Is it auth? Okay, now it's saying unauthorized. So this confirms that our application is working. Now you can see that it's not secured because it's running on HTTP. Now in the next lectures, we will see how we can move this to HTTPS, which will involve the use of load balancers. So let's see you in the next lectures. Now in order to move the app to HTTPS, we will be proceeding with that. We will be creating load balancers and target groups. So first refresh this and you can see that we have one instance running. Now for that, first let's create a target group. So inside the load balancing, you can see this heading as target group. Just click on this. So we will create a target group and it will be for instance. Target group name will be e-commerce. Port will be 3000 since our app is running on 3000. So just change this. It will be IPv4. Keep everything as default. And yeah, everything is default and click on next. So the port is 3000 and here we want to register the instance. So we will register our instance on which the app is running. So click on include as pending below. Now it says our app is running on port 3000 on this instance. So just click on create target group. So target group simply means if request comes, it will go simply on port 3000 on that particular instance. So this is what target group is all about. So now you can see that our target group is live. Now let's go ahead and create the load balancer. So click on the load balancer. We will open it in a new tab. Create load balancer. We will be creating an application load balancer. Give the load balancer name. So it will be e-commerce. It will be internet facing, it will be IPv4, leave everything as default. Now here are the availability zones. So if you go to the EC2 instance, there is an availability zone for each EC2 instance. So you can see that our EC2 instance is running in US East 1B. So we have to select that here. So US East 1B is compulsory and you can select any other as well. So 1A. So the one in which EC2 instance is running, that one is compulsory, but you can choose anyone apart from that. So for the security group, we will cancel this default and use our own security group. Port will be HTTPS and we will forward our request to this target group. So everything is fine. Yeah. And we will now attach a HTTPS certificate. So we have created one for this domain. In ACM in the first lecture you have seen. So we will use this here because without SSL certificate, HTTPS won't work. So that's why we have to do this. Either you can use from ACM or you can import your own certificates as well. Everything is fine. So just click on create load balancer. Now load balancer takes a bit of time to spin up. So I'll see you once that's finished. Now you can see that our load balancer is active now. So if you click on this load balancer, you will see this load balancer ARN and all these things. And here you can see the DNS name. So just copy this DNS name from here. Place it here. It is still saying the site can't be reached. And go to the advanced and proceed to e-commerce. So you can see that our load balancer is working. So it says cannot get / so it means our Node.js application is working. Now in the next lecture, we will see how we can use our custom domain to point to this load balancer so that we can directly use our domain. So we will do that using Route 53. So let's catch up inside that lecture. Now let's see how we can set up Route 53 to use the custom domain. So go on Route 53. Open it in a separate tab. Now we will go to the hosted zone. So we will go to our domain which we have added here. Now here we will create a record. So this is how we can manage all the domains inside the Route 53. So here we will say it will be an A record. So check mark the alias. And here we will say on which service we want to point this domain. So we want to point this on alias to application and classic load balancer. So we will select this because ours is application load balancer. We have to select the region. So our is US East 1. And here you will select the load balancer. So our e-commerce load balancer is listed here. So just select this and click on create record. Now this DNS will take a bit of time to propagate. Now after creating this, if you go to the domain, so our domain name is this. So just copy this and paste this here. Now you can see that it's saying cannot get /. Now it's protected as well. So it's running on HTTPS and it's running on the domain name. So that's how everything works. So you have seen how we can deploy the Node.js application on the production and move it to HTTPS using the custom domain. Now that's it. We will be learning inside this section. Now in the next lecture, I will see how you can dispose all the resources so that you don't get any additional cost. Now our app is running successfully on the domain. So we will start with the cleanup. So first go to the Route 53 and we will clean all the resources here. So we have created this additional one. So click here and you will see select delete record and we will say delete. So the record set is deleted from Route 53. Now go to the load balancer and click on the load balancers here. And we will say delete load balancer. Type confirm and say delete. Now load balancer is successfully deleted. Go to the target groups. Select this one and we will say delete. Target group is also deleted. Now go to the instances. Click on the instance. And in the instance state, you can see we have this terminate instance option. So just click on this and it will terminate the instance. And same thing we have to do for the RDS as well. So go to the RDS, database service. Click on the DB instances. Select the e-commerce one and in the actions, we will say delete and delete this instance. So this is how you can do all these things. So it will take a couple of seconds or minutes to delete this instance, database instance, and this some time to terminate this instance as well. So this is how you delete all the resources from here. So please follow these instructions and delete all the resources, else you will be responsible for our own cost. So that's it. The thing we studied in this section are pretty useful and will be useful in your career as well. So you have learned how to deploy Node.js application on AWS, how to move it to HTTPS, how to use database and all these things. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this section.